Today, we are diving deep into what might be the most ambitious tech blueprint Europe has proposed in decades. We're talking about the plan for a continent-wide CERN for AI.
And this isn't just, some political fantasy. It's a highly detailed, very strategic plan. The aim is to fundamentally reorient Europe's position in the global AI race,
A race where the gap seems to be widening almost daily.
almost by the hour.
So our mission today is to really unpack this. We need to get into the core motivations, what they're calling Europe's existential triple threat. We'll look at the sophisticated structure being proposed by bodies like the Center for Future Generations and CERN and try to figure out what it actually means to build trustworthy AI on this massive continental scale.
Right.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. What is this tool, AI, that we're building this giant institution around?
Well, that's a challenge even for the experts. Professor Holger, who's a really prominent voice here, he points out that defining AI is notoriously difficult.
Because it keeps changing.
It's changing weekly. But, at its core, AI is the science of teaching computers to imitate, to reproduce, and to support abilities that normally require human intelligence.
And it's not just in a lab anymore, it's everywhere. I mean, you are surrounded by it constantly.
Absolutely.
Professor Hughes gives some great examples. The computer chips that keep your car safe, the voice assistant on your phone, even the animation in big blockbuster movies.
And what's really fascinating is how it's penetrated scientific knowledge itself. Physics, chemistry, biology, medicine, all of them.
So the stakes of falling behind in AI?
Are the stakes of falling behind in science and technology? Period. It's that fundamental.
That context really sets the stage for the urgency here. I mean, they wouldn't be talking about 100 billion euros without a pretty serious threat.
No, you wouldn't. And according to Karen, it's a triple threat. And each one of these threats directly targets Europe's ability to, act independently.
Okay, so the first threat seems critical, the loss of strategic sovereignty.
Right. This is just straightforward dependency. Europe is relying more and more on U.S.-made AI, foundational models like ChatGPT, for example.
And the hardware, too, NVIDIA chips.
Exactly. So if you're dependent on foreign companies or foreign nations for your core computing, you're vulnerable. Geopolitical pressure, licensing restrictions, they can cut you off at any moment.
Which leads right into the second threat, doesn't it? The loss of cultural sovereignty.
It does. AI systems are not neutral. They're reflections of the data they're trained on and the values of the teams that build them.
So if Europe only uses foreign AI, those systems might not align with core European values. Things like transparency or safety.
Or sustainability,
Yeah.
The commitment to trustworthy AI is a big one.
And the final point is all about the economy, the loss of economic competitiveness.
And this is the engine of the whole thing. AI is the fourth industrial revolution. If Europe lags in AI, every other sector, manufacturing, finance, healthcare, it all follows.
So you're threatening the industrial base and, crucially, the social welfare systems that are built on top of that economic strength.
Exactly. And to really feel the heat here, you have to look overseas. The CFG report paints a, frankly, stark picture of the acceleration happening in the U.S. right now.
And this is where the numbers become, terrifying. We're talking about colossal investment.
Almost unbelievable.
The Stargate project, that's OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank, is planning to pump $100 billion into American AI data centers.
$100 billion. And remember, that's just one project. Microsoft alone is planning to spend $80 billion on infrastructure in 2025.
When you hear those numbers, the question is immediate. Can Europe even compete?
It's a fair question. Professor Hughes used a powerful analogy. He compared this technical dependency on a few U.S. AI companies to being cut off from Russian gas.
Wow. So it's an existential economic vulnerability.
That's how they see it, and the data backs it up. European companies are lagging behind their American counterparts in AI adoption by a huge margin. We're talking 40 to 70%.
That hesitation is a direct drain on innovation.
It is, but...
Wow.
And this is important, the blueprint counters this defeatism with a really critical technical observation. We're sort of entering a new paradigm in AI.
Okay.
It's becoming less about sheer size and scale, what they call imitation learning, which is just feeding a model huge amounts of data. It's more about refinement, specifically reinforcement learning-based post-training.
So if imitation learning is like memorizing every book ever written, what's RL-based post-training?
It's like having a sophisticated tutor that guides the model to behave the way you want it to be safer, more reliable, better at following complex instructions.
I see.
The recent success of companies like DeepSeek shows this. They got competitive results with relatively fewer resources. This post-training refinement is where the real innovation is happening now.
Which gives Europe an opening.
A unique opportunity because their whole focus is already on the trustworthiness and safety that's built into that refining process. They're not just chasing raw scale.
Okay, so if that's the opportunity, let's explore the mission. It's all about pioneering the science of trustworthy general-purpose AI. Why general purpose?
Because those systems are the Swiss Army knife of the digital world. You can adapt them for all sorts of tasks without starting from scratch every time.
And by prioritizing trustworthiness first, Europe is trying to solve that fundamental black box problem that we always talk about.
Exactly. The problem that holds back governance, safety, and widespread adoption.
But the term CERN for AI means different things to different people, right? I saw the Simon Institute for Long-Term Governance identified 4 different visions for this kind of thing.
That's right, and it shows why Europe's choice is so significant. First, you have the academics. For them, it's about public research infrastructure to counter the brain drain to private industry.
Makes sense.
Second is the for good cluster. They see a global body focused on social benefits, like climate change or healthcare. Then third, you have the AI safety vision, a hub for risk assessment, testing, and safety research.
And the last one is AGI.
The AGI vision, an international lab to jointly develop artificial general intelligence, maybe even with a monopoly, to stop a dangerous competitive race.
So Europe's decision to really root its mission in that safety and trustworthiness angle, that's a very deliberate philosophical choice.
It is. While the U.S. is chasing AGI and speed, Europe is prioritizing the how. How do we make these systems reliable, accountable, and safe for society?
And that focus comes from seeing the flaws in the current tech. Professor Hughes points out these clear gaps, especially in combining learning with logical reasoning.
He does. For instance, LLMs are amazing at language, at fluency, but he notes they are very bad at making deep logical inferences. They can mimic a debate, but they often struggle with the actual logic.
And then there's the creativity issue.
Yes. While AI can generate some impressive stuff, great marketing copy, for sure, Hughes points out its limits, it hasn't written a truly groundbreaking novel or composed serious music with the rigor and depth of, say, a Bach fugue.
These are just minor details. They're markers of real intellectual capability that this new institution has to target.
Right. And to stop the whole thing from just drifting towards quick wins.
Towards just commercial apps.
Exactly. The blueprint mandates that at least 25% of its entire resource budget, that's compute time and staff, must go to foundational programs.
That's the bedrock research for long-term breakthroughs.
You have to protect the basic science. It makes perfect sense that Professor Hughes, who argues for this measured approach, also signed the open letter calling for a slowdown in the AI race.
It's a very different mindset from Silicon Valley's move fast and break things.
Very different. He prioritizes verifiable reliability over pure speed.
Okay, let's get into the architecture of this institution. The CFG report proposes a novel 2-track research structure. It's designed for both speed and security. How does that hybrid model work?
It's all about balancing collaboration and control. The first track is the ARPA style or distributed model.
So that's like an open network.
Think of it like that, yeah. It leverages partner institutions, universities, labs, all spread across Europe. This track is for high-risk, high-reward research, flexibility, open collaboration. It spreads the funding around.
And then the second track is the complete opposite, the FRO-style in-house model.
Yes, based on focused research organizations.
Yeah.
The FRO track has these tightly integrated teams working in highly secure, centralized facilities.
And that's for the sensitive stuff.
That's for the most sensitive insights or research with dual-use potential, things like AI cybersecurity or anything that could impact critical infrastructure. So the sensitive IP stays protected and centrally controlled.
That structural split is clever. It manages the triple threat. You spread the economic benefit with the ARPA track, but you maintain sovereignty and security with the FRO track.
Precisely. And all of this research is organized into 4 interconnected areas. Let's start with the foundational programs, that 25% commitment we mentioned.
This is where they're tackling the black box problem. They're developing tools for interpretability.
Right, mapping how neural networks actually behave.
And building bounded and verifiable architectures to get mathematical guarantees about reliability.
Then you move to the scaling area. The challenge here is implementing this trustworthiness on a continental scale. This means building trustworthy foundation models for critical sectors.
And I saw this in the report. curating a massive European zero-friction health data set.
Which is huge. It's a privacy-preserved, regulatory-cleared data set. It allows AI to train on rare diseases without violating Europe's very strict data protection laws.
Then you have the applied programs. This is where the rubber meets the road.
It is? We're talking specific solutions, like AI for cybersecurity defensive systems that adapt faster than attackers,
Yep.
and the incredibly complex task of designing net zero grid managers.
Managing a net zero grid continentally, I mean, that sounds almost impossible.
It's maybe the single largest engineering challenge in the European energy sector. You're developing AI that can coordinate intermittent renewables and demand across dozens of countries with millisecond precision, so the grid never fails.
And that relies entirely on breakthrough AI.
Completely. And finally, you have the hardware programs. This is the physical infrastructure. So designing energy-efficient computing solutions and creating hardware-enabled oversight mechanisms.
So tamper-resistant features built right into the chips to verify responsible use.
Exactly. And to bridge all of these different tracks, the blueprint calls for systems engineers. This is an idea inspired by the success of Bell Labs and DARPA.
Why is that role so crucial?
Because they're the translators. They maintain the big picture, they track new AI capabilities and find concrete, large-scale applications for them. They coordinate across all the research silos to make sure the work delivers, meaningful outcomes for Europe's security.
All of this ambition, of course, comes with a price tag that is hard to wrap your head around. The initial investment is estimated at a staggering 30 to 35 billion euros over just the first 3 years.
And that leads to a long-term total of at least 100 billion euros over the next decade.
You're basically betting Europe's entire economic future on this.
You are. And getting that kind of money requires huge political alignment and diverse funding streams. The core has to be upfront funding from the EU and national governments.
But they're also bringing in private partners, data center providers, semiconductor companies.
And they have plans for variable funding, too. They anticipate getting revenue from licensing their models to trusted European companies and very cleverly renting out excess compute power to private actors.
So a massive capital investment becomes an income-generating asset.
That's the idea. Politically, though, 100 billion is a massive hurdle. The problem is always balancing national self-interest with the need for a central body to just move fast.
And to manage that, the legal structure they're suggesting is a joint undertaking, or JU. Why is that the best fit?
Because the JU status gives it operational flexibility. It lets the institution act like a dynamic tech startup. Flexible employment, ability to take in public and private funding quickly.
And it allows for speed.
Crucially, the Euro-HPC joint undertaking was operational just 10 months after it was proposed. You need that kind of speed in the AI sector.
And the governance structure reflects that. You have a member representative board with political reps from member countries.
Right. They oversee high-level strategy, like at the European Space Agency. But, and this is critical, they're kept away from the day-to-day decisions.
That's handled by 2 independent advisory boards, the Mission Alignment Board for Transparency and Values,
and the Scaling and Deployment Board, which focuses on practical safety and commercial use.
One final point on membership. The blueprint is very explicit about including trusted non-EU founding members from the start, specifically the UK, Switzerland, and Canada. Why bring them in?
Well, it's a critical strategic move. They bring a lot of additional funding, obviously. But more importantly, they bring incredible expertise and access to major global AI hubs. London, Zurich, Toronto. It immediately strengthens Europe's global position.
So if we connect this all back to the bigger picture, what does this mean for you, the citizen, the policymaker? This investment isn't just about racing the US or China.
No, it's about developing the sovereign capability you need to tackle those huge global challenges that AI is key to solving. Climate change, revolutionary medicine.
And that commitment to trustworthiness is the real hallmark here. They're not just building tech, they're building governance for it at the same time.
Exactly. The blueprint has a full safety and security framework, a responsible governance plan. They're designed to evolve as AI gets more powerful. They're trying to govern the AI of tomorrow, not just the systems of today.
And that whole measured approach, that balance of speed and caution, it really seems to reflect Professor Hughes's personal philosophy. The pilot who prefers flying old planes without any AI or autopilot.
Yeah, and who signs letters urging a slowdown. The challenge is, can Europe stick to this measured, trustworthy pace while the rest of the world is just screaming for higher, faster, further?
The risk is huge. If they fail to get that initial 35 billion, they could get stuck in that middle technology trap for good, just perpetually dependent.
But if they succeed, they could set a new global standard for how these powerful technologies are created and governed. That structured logic, that commitment to making something intellectually rigorous but also accessible.
It's the same quality Professor Huey's finds in Bach's music, which he apparently plays on a rare instrument called the Heckelphone.
A baritone oboe, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a perfect metaphor for the whole project.
Yeah.
Blending deep logic with practical beauty.
So the final provocative thought is this. Will the world's desperate need for speed actually allow for Europe's deep need for trust to win out?
Or will the market just ignore the promise of reliable AI for whatever is cheapest, fastest, and, well, most opaque?
And that's where we leave our deep dive for today. Now you're informed. We'll see you next time.